Welcome to the Celestix monthly webinar. This month we're going to be talking about the Celestix Cloud Edge security solution based on the E-Series appliance platform. So before we get started and get into the details, I want to just do a brief introduction about myself as well as Celestix, the company. My name is Richard Hicks. I'm going to be your webinar presenter for today. I am the Director of Technical Services here for Celestix Networks. I'm a Microsoft Most Valuable Professional, or MVP, in the Enterprise Security discipline. I have been Microsoft certified something or other for the past 20 years or so. Most of my career I've spent as a network and information security expert. I've deployed edge security and remote access solutions for some of the largest organizations in the world, and I hope to be able to share some of that experience with you today during this presentation. A little bit about Celestix Networks, if you're not familiar with us. We've been around for quite some time. We actually started out life in 1999 originally as a checkpoint hardware provider. So if you've been around a long time like I have, you might remember the old Celestix Taurus platform that we used to deliver checkpoint firewalls on many years ago. We've had a number of important OEM security appliance vendor agreements that we've developed solutions for a number of companies. For example, Norman, Surf Control, WebSense. We actually made appliances for companies like RSA, the secure ID appliances from many years ago, BMC, and as well as Microsoft. We're probably best known for our Microsoft appliance platform for delivering products like Microsoft Forefront TMG and Forefront UAG in a hardware appliance, turnkey ready to deploy platform. Celestix has a fairly significant global presence. We have offices here in the United States as well as Southeast Asia, Europe, and the United Kingdom. We have developed and deployed our solutions for many customers across all verticals, and our solutions are available globally through a number of different partners and resellers around the world. So when we're talking about developing a secure remote access solution or talking about drafting a remote access strategy, one of the questions that I often ask my enterprise customers at first is, well, where is it that you need to provide secure remote access to? And the answer is generally everywhere. The days of all of our data and applications and resources residing on premises within the walls and confines of our corporate network are long gone. With the proliferation of cloud services, both infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, there is just a myriad of online services that can be consumed, by users and by organizations. So where our data resides is where we need secure remote access to, but unfortunately that data does not always reside on our on-premises networks. It's in the cloud, and it's in multiple cloud providers. So we need to provide a way to establish secure remote access to those solutions. There's also been an explosion of devices that can create and consume content. So no longer is it just simply our corporate managed Windows PCs that we need to provide remote access to. We need to do that securely for managed and non-managed devices as well, across all kinds of different form factors in addition to that. So to meet these challenges and kind of ease this pain for corporate enterprises, Celestix is introducing something called the Cloud Edge Security Solution. And the Cloud Edge Security Solution is implemented as a part of our Celestix Appliance, E-Series appliance, built on Windows Server 2012 R2, and it includes a number of different features and capabilities that help you address these challenges today. It includes unified remote access for both managed and non-managed clients. So for managed clients, we're recommending that you use DirectAccess, and we'll talk in detail about each of these a little bit more later in the presentation. And client-based VPN for our non-managed devices and mobile devices as well. The Cloud Edge Security Appliance includes a site-to-site VPN gateway, so this allows you to extend your corporate network and enable cross-premises network connectivity to hosted public cloud providers. It includes a new feature of Windows Server 2012 R2 called the Web Application Proxy, and this is a reverse web proxy capability that can provide some of the capabilities that Forefront UAG and TMG did, and we'll talk about that in detail a little bit later. It also includes remote desktop gateway functionality, so if you want to extend secure remote access to hosted virtual desktop infrastructure, we have that capability. And finally, the solution also includes some bring your own device device management. I hate to use the term device management. It really addresses some challenges we have around securing access to data, corporate data, on mobile devices. And we'll talk about both of those. Workplace join and work folders that kind of go hand in hand. So when we're talking about managed clients, of course, I think present the least challenge in terms of providing secure remote access because, again, these devices are owned by corporate IT, they're managed by central IT, and so we have a really good grasp and a really good handle on that. And DirectAccess really is the solution, the remote access solution of choice for managed Windows clients. If you're not familiar with DirectAccess, it provides always-on remote network connectivity. Anytime a DirectAccess client is outside of the corporate office, has access to the internet, it will have access to the corporate network and be connected transparently. It's for a very specific subset of clients, so it doesn't apply to all of our clients. In order to leverage DirectAccess, you have to use Windows 7 Enterprise or Ultimate Edition, or Windows 8 or 8.1 Enterprise Edition. Those systems need to be domain joined as well because we're going to leverage a number of different technologies to do that. It makes use of IPv6 and IPsec. Don't panic when you see IPv6 there, as many do. They think, oh my gosh, I have to deploy IPv6 on my corporate network in order to take advantage of DirectAccess. That's not the case. The Cloud Edge Security Appliance with Windows Server 2012 does include IPv6 transition and translation technologies that effectively make it so that you don't have to deploy any IPv6 on your network to take advantage of that. We're going to manage DirectAccess exclusively using Active Directory and Group Policy, so it doesn't require any installation or management or maintenance of any sort of client on the remote desktops. It just simply means that they need to be Windows 7 Enterprise or Ultimate, Windows 8 Enterprise, 8.1 Enterprise, and then join to the domain, and then we can push out all of the settings that enable DirectAccess using Active Directory and Group Policy. It is a very, very secure remote access solution, so much more secure than any other remote access solution on the market today, any traditional VPN, because it supports both certificate authentication, so the device itself needs to have a certificate installed on it, but it also leverages both Kerberos authentication and NTLM authentication to fully authenticate these encrypted IPsec tunnels. So in terms of that, no traffic can actually traverse the tunnels unless it's authenticated. So very, very secure. It does also get better because it includes support for strong authentication. You can leverage smart cards for an additional authentication factor. Those smart cards can be virtual or physical. Doesn't matter. So you can take advantage of, if your mobile devices have TPM 1.2, then you can take advantage of virtual smart cards, which means I don't have to deploy physical cards and the infrastructure to support that, the card readers and whatnot. Also can leverage dynamic password solutions like Celestix HotPin. So Celestix HotPin is our two-factor authentication, one-time password or OTP solution, which does integrate with DirectAccess. Very cost-effective, easy to manage, easy to implement solution, complements DirectAccess very well. So, finally, when we're talking about DirectAccess, I think this is probably one of the biggest key differentiators between traditional or legacy VPN and DirectAccess is that DirectAccess is a two-way street. It does provide bidirectional network connectivity, which allows you to implement what we call manage out scenarios. So I can initiate outbound communication to connected remote DirectAccess clients, and that's very interesting. We'll talk about that shortly. So from an end-user perspective, DirectAccess is infinitely better and easier all the way around than traditional VPN. It makes these users more productive because they don't have to fight with the VPN client, right? So it's seamless and transparent. There's no user input required, and I have an asterisk there because the only user input will be required is if you're integrating with an OTP solution like Celestix HotPin. So obviously if you're using OTP, the user has to enter their PIN, but if they're not using that, it's completely transparent to the user. The the connectivity is very firewall friendly. We do have the ability to tunnel IPsec traffic in HTTP and then secure that with SSL and TLS, and so it provides connectivity pretty much anywhere you have an internet connection. Much more firewall friendly than legacy VPN solutions are. Of course, all this leads to better end user satisfaction. They're happier. They don't have to fight with the VPN client. They don't have to launch a VPN client anytime they want to get to their data or their applications. They don't have to even think about it. They access their applications, data, and resources on the corporate network the same outside the office as they do in the inside the office. So if they're using maps, drives, internal short names, so single label host names to get to an intranet site or something like that, all of that works just as it does inside, the same as it does outside. So in terms of that, much easier to use. Users love it. Trust me. When you deploy it, they will be extremely happy about it, and so will you, as a matter of fact. So from an IT perspective, of course, it gets even better. So from an IT administrator's perspective, we gain much better security and compliance when we implement DirectAccess. In fact, I have worked with many large organizations that have deployed DirectAccess purely from a security standard. They had no interest in making it easier for the users. They just simply wanted to manage their very large deployments of mobile devices for which they had very little visibility prior to this. So with DirectAccess, I have better vulnerability mitigation. So I can actually proactively initiate vulnerability scans against all of my internal clients, obviously, but also my connected DirectAccess clients. So again, that makes things much better for compliance. It reduces the need for our externally facing management infrastructure, so I don't have to put a bunch of systems and servers in my DMZ to support patch management and auditing and reporting for my mobile clients. They're always connected to the CorpNet, and they're using my internal on-premises management infrastructure to maintain that support. So in terms of control, of course, it's always better because it's with DirectAccess clients, they're always connected and they're always accessible. And again, those manage out scenarios that I talked about, for example, when manage out is configured and deployed for DirectAccess clients, a help desk administrator, for example, could initiate a remote desktop sharing session with a connected mobile user for the purposes of maybe troubleshooting or maybe doing training or something like that with a client-side application. So they wouldn't have to be in the office. They can just simply be connected via DirectAccess, and an administrator could take over control of that system and so forth. And of course, there's a lot of cost savings that come out of this. So first of all, your users are more productive, so that's going to be tremendously helpful. You're going to reduce your administrator and help desk costs because the users are going to be fighting less with, they don't have to fight anymore with the VPN clients. They're not going to be calling a help desk constantly, wondering why every time they try to log in, they get locked out. It's just tremendously much more efficient in terms of that. It also allows some interesting scenarios. For example, for many of our large customers who have small branch offices, they've actually done away with site-to-site links or dedicated links and just configured their remote users for direct access. So as long as they have an internet connection in the branch office, and which is most often the case, then they just simply connect over direct access individually to the corporate network, and they access internal resources that way. So DirectAccess is obviously an awesome remote access solution for managed clients. The challenge, of course, is that we have many non-managed clients we have to worry about. So any systems that aren't managed, we still need to provide secure remote access for. And the Cloud Edge security solution does include client-based VPN to address those needs. So again, you would deploy client-based VPN alongside of DirectAccess. Again, they're not mutually exclusive. In fact, they're quite complementary. So you would deploy client-based VPN for our non-managed clients, and that would be anything that is either a Windows client that's not supported. So as you recall earlier, I said DirectAccess is for Windows 8 Enterprise and Windows 7 Enterprise and Ultimate. So if you have any other flavor of Windows, Vista, you're not running XP anymore because that's no longer supported. But you're running Windows 7. Perhaps it's just Windows 7 Professional or Windows 8 Professional. Those types of things would be not supported. Or if you're Windows 8 or Windows 7 Enterprise or Ultimate clients are not domain joined, then obviously they wouldn't be able to participate. So you can support any non-domain joined Windows clients. It does provide, doesn't provide, of course, support for non-Windows devices or mobile devices. This is, again, a very small subset of those clients. So you can deploy client-based VPN to address those challenges. And client-based VPN in this solution does provide extensive protocol support. So all of the standard protocols are supported, like PPTP, L2TP over IPsec, SSTP, and IPv2. Now, some of you may not be familiar with SSTP. SSTP is interesting. It's the Secure Sockets Tunneling Protocol. It's basically client-based SSL VPN, and the client is built into the Windows operating system. It's been there since Windows Vista with Service Pack 1, I believe, and this is a very firewall-friendly remote access protocol because it just tunnels the network traffic over SSL and TLS, or HTTP protected with SSL and TLS. So that's something that's supported by this solution that is not available in any other third-party or non-Microsoft-based solution. So another pain point for our customers when they're talking about access is they're saying, hey, listen, this is all great. We're providing excellent secure remote access to our on-premises applications, data, and resources. However, we are beginning a cloud migration. We're beginning to migrate services and infrastructure to the cloud. The Cloud Edge Security Appliance does address this by using site-to-site VPN. So it includes site-to-site VPN gateway functionality that allows you to enable cross-premises connectivity and basically implement and realize the advantages of a true hybrid cloud. Oftentimes, and a lot of customers that we're talking to are in this boat, is that they're moving infrastructure to the cloud that still requires access to data and resources on premises. A case in point in a real common deployment scenario is moving web front ends to the cloud, but oftentimes those web front ends need access to data logic tiers or data tiers and perhaps data repositories that are still on premises. Maybe Active Directory that's on premises, maybe that's a file share. More commonly, it's a SQL server that's still on premises. So we need some capabilities to do that, and site-to-site VPN is what we use. Out of the box, we have support for the most common hosted public cloud providers, Microsoft Azure and Amazon Web Services, but the truth is this is pretty much a standard IPsec implementation. It would work with any hosted public cloud provider that you choose that supports IPsec tunnel endpoints. You can also use site-to-site VPN to enable branch office connectivity and connect to business partners for collaboration. So there's a number of needs that this particular feature addresses, not just limited to public cloud connectivity. So it would connect, the site-to-site VPN would actually be able to terminate with any third-party solution as long as it supports IPsec tunnel mode for transport. Web application publishing is another interesting scenario that our solution provides. Web application publishing is the concept of implementing a reverse proxy at the perimeter or network edge and providing secure remote access to applications as opposed to the network. Traditionally, this is done with Forefront TMG's reverse proxy capabilities or Forefront UAG as a dedicated reverse proxy. In our solution, the Windows Server 2012 R2 has a new feature called the Web Application Proxy. This is a very basic reverse web proxy used for web application publishing. The key word and the operative word there being web. Today, this is for web-based applications, so HTTP, HTTPS doesn't support protocol publishing, so you couldn't publish an SSH server or something like that. So it's just for web-based protocols. It's used today to publish on-premises hosted web applications, for example, Exchange, Outlook Web App, SharePoint, Dynamics CRM, any of your third-party or line-of-business applications that are web-based using HTTP or HTTPS. It provides form-based pre-authentication. It does require Active Directory Federation Services, or ADFS, to be deployed in your environment. And that is a hard and fast requirement, so that's not an option. Web Application Proxy relies on ADFS and can't be configured in any other way. You do have two-factor authentication support, though, so this does integrate with an OTP provider like the Celestix Hotpin OTP solution. And finally, let's talk a little bit about bring your own device scenarios. So with this kind of proliferation of mobile devices, corporate IT is really struggling with how to maintain security for corporate data. And that's a real challenge that that's facing administrators today. And Workplace Join and Work Folders work hand in hand to address that concern. So Workplace Join really is nothing more than Active Directory registration for personal devices. So this is something that a user can opt in to registering their device in Active Directory, and when they do that, they are granted policies that can be enforced, and of course we can grant access based on the level of trust of the device, and there's a number of different parameters that play into that. This is itself a form of two-factor authentication, and the reason I say that is because the device is registered and known to Central IT via Active Directory. When you register the device, it actually creates an object in Active Directory. It's not a full-blown computer account, but it resembles a computer account effectively, and we assign a certificate to it, so the device itself essentially becomes the second form of authentication. It also does support single sign-on, so your users don't have to sign on to multiple different things once they've accessed. Once they've authenticated and been provided access, they would then have access to additional resources without having to sign on again. Work Folders is the new file synchronization technology that's now built into the operating system and exposed through the Cloud Edge security solution. This is think of this as an internally hosted OneDrive or Dropbox. So the real challenge today is with OneDrive and Dropbox and so forth is that if an internal user stores sensitive private corporate data there, when the user leaves the organization, either of their own choice or otherwise, that data stays on a public provider for which the corporate entity doesn't have access to. So we lose control of that data. The user still has access to it and can do with it what they want after they've left the company, which is obviously a bad scenario. In this case, Work Folders allows us to create a OneDrive or Dropbox-like solution. However, the main central repository is our corporate file server. So these files remain under the control of Central IT. They're on premises on my file server, and then they are securely synchronized with these mobile devices that have registered. You can enforce user device policies. So before you access a data share, you must meet some set of policies, and most common is a lock screen password has to be set, and encryption has to be enabled. And then once you do that, you can then access or synchronize with this data share. Also, when the user either deregisters their device or leaves the organization, then that data that resides on their mobile device is actually securely erased. So again, files stay on our corporate server. They are securely placed on the mobile device, the user's mobile device, and if they leave the company or deregister their device, then that data is selectively wiped on their system or on their device without, of course, losing any of their personal data. You can also apply additional protection to these files that are stored in Work Folders by integrating with your existing on-premises Active Directory Rights Management or RMS solution. Virtual desktop infrastructure is another interesting scenario. What we're finding is a lot of organizations are deploying VDI for a variety of reasons. From a security perspective, one interesting scenario is where an organization has extremely sensitive data that they don't want leaving the corporate premises at all, period. They absolutely not. It must reside within the walls of their network. So instead of doing file synchronization or secure remote access where a user is allowed to maybe copy this data down or has the ability to copy the data down to an untrusted device, a virtual desktop infrastructure allows them to just publish to the desktop. You then work with this data via a virtual desktop, and the data resides entirely on the corporate network. So the Cloud Edge security solution includes remote desktop gateway functionality, and this is another scenario in which Forefront UAG would provide access for, and now we're able to do with the Celestix Cloud Edge Security Appliance. So with the Remote Desktop Gateway, we have the ability to provide secure remote access to a hosted internal virtual desktop infrastructure. We can provide access to remote desktop session hosts. It could be just remote desktop, or excuse me, remote app servers. So there may be scenarios in which you're just making applications available via remote app. And so with that, this has the ability to handle that. It also provides access to computers with remote desktop enabled. This might be management workstations. It could be simply the user's desktop in the office or something like that. So it provides a wide variety of access to remote desktops. It's done securely over HTTP and encrypted with SSL and TLS. So we're actually tunneling the RDP protocol over HTTP and protecting that with SSL and TLS. And again, very firewall friendly here. It does support pre-authentication and two-factor authentication, so it does integrate with Celestix Hotpin and so forth. So let's talk a little bit about the E-Series appliance. So the Celestix Cloud Edge Security solution is delivered as a part of our E-Series appliance platform. The Celestix Cloud Edge Security appliance features are the features if you're familiar with our solutions at all and you deployed them for any Microsoft TMG or UAG or even DirectAccess, then you're familiar with a lot of these things. But the Celestix solution is based on our advanced hardware appliance platform. This is a dedicated purpose-built solution. This is not a white box solution. This is not an industry standard server that we've simply pre-installed some software on. It does include capabilities like the front panel control tile and LCD display panel that allow you to very quickly and easily configure and deploy these solutions. You simply rack the unit, power it up, cable it up, assign an IP address, subnet mask, default gateway right through the front panel. You can go back to your desk and manage it that way. It does include a pre-configured and pre-installed version of Windows Server 2012 R2. And, of course, our proprietary web-based management console, which makes managing the solution as easy as opening a web browser and navigating to the URL. It does include out-of-band management, so all of our devices include some form of out-of-band management, usually via IPMI, which means you can fully manage the solution remotely if you need to. It includes, of course, hardware-integrated disaster recovery, so I can take snapshots of the appliance, store those on disk or off appliance as well. We have some capabilities to save that to a remote file share and so forth. And we have two ways to do that. One is invasive and that actually requires that the device be offline, but we do have new features that allow you to do that while the device remains online, so that's definitely a good solution there. And then, of course, in terms of our appliance series models, we have a variety of solutions to meet all of your deployment needs. We have on the lower end the E3400 series. This is designed for maybe proof of concepts, maybe small pilot deployments, small office, branch office kind of scenarios. We move up to the 6400 series when we're talking to any of our mid-sized customers that need to support more users. And then, of course, at the enterprise level, we have the E8400 series, which is our data center enterprise class unit. Full redundancy, supports many, many more users, has options for 10 gig Ethernet and so forth. So very, very powerful solution. And again, all of these units have the ability to be clustered in some fashion, and so we can provide solutions that really meet anybody's solution. Whether you need to scale out or scale up, we have those alternatives available for you. So if anybody has any questions, that's the end of the presentation. If anybody has any questions, go ahead and shoot me a note in the chat, and I'd be happy to answer those for you. We have a few minutes before we need to wrap up. So any questions at all, go ahead and feel free to send me a note in the chat window there. If not, if there aren't any other questions, then I will provide you some additional information. But if anybody has any questions at all, I'd be happy to take those. One question that's pretty common is, does the Cloud Edge security solution, can it be placed in a perimeter network or in a DMZ? The answer to that is, in most deployment scenarios, the answer is yes. For example, if you're doing remote desktop gateway, if you're doing DirectAccess or client-based VPN, all of those support perimeter placements. However, the only deployment scenario that absolutely requires edge-facing deployment is the site-side VPN, and that's really a requirement for some of the cloud providers. So, for example, Microsoft Azure does not support site-side VPN with a tunnel endpoint that is behind a NAT, so you do have to place those on the edge in those scenarios. Another common question that I get is surrounding workplace join and work folders. A number of customers have asked what devices are specifically supported for workplace join and work folders. Today, that is limited to Windows 7. There's an actual software client that needs to be installed on Windows 7. Windows 8 can support that, as well as iOS devices. So for those of you who have Android devices, that is not supported today. I expect that that will be forthcoming. Today, iOS, Windows 7, Windows 8 are supported. So I expect there to be support for Android devices in the future. So stay tuned on the Celestix blog. We'll probably have an announcement there at some point in the future. All right, well, if there's no other questions, I thank you for your time. I appreciate it. If you have any other questions at all, any questions come to mind later, just drop a note, sales@celestix.com. Somebody will get back with you. If it's a sales question, great. If it's a technical question, they can forward those on to myself or any of our other staff that can answer those questions for you. And, of course, you can get information about our products anytime at celestix.com, www.celestix.com. Plenty of information there as well. So I appreciate your time today. Thank you for joining, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Take care.